Namaste everyone. My name is Vishwanath and I welcome you to another session on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Today we will research Srimad Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse 27 to 29. All actions arise from attributes which arise from Prakriti. The deluded soul cognizes itself as I am the doer. Philosophers know that action comes from the tri-partitioned attributes, and by controlling these attributes, thus knowing, remain unattached. Those deluded by gunas born of Prakriti find virtue in actions driven by guna. But the person with complete knowledge should not agitate dull people who have incomplete knowledge. What is Sri Krishna trying to say?
Here I'm going to be first talking about what are gunas, how are they related to Prakriti, then how how does one cognize the gunas? Because just knowing what they are is of no value if we cannot control them. So this is first and then last is a very important statement. A person with complete knowledge should not agitate dull people who have incomplete knowledge. This is a very profound statement, and I think we need to discuss this also. So let's start with what are gunas. So starting from first principles, everything comes from the Brahman. Brahman is a cognitive state. It's a cognitive state. It's something that we cognize. And in a very simple way, it can be said to be an infinite void. So, Brahman is an infinite void, which is cognitive. So, you can become aware of that particular state. Brahman experiences a need to manifest. That need to manifest comes from within. Why does that need come? Whenever the whenever there is a spandana, an atemporal vibration within the Brahman, which is a cognitive state. It is in a cognitive state in infinity. So when there is an internal tremor, the first thought that comes is the cognition of the tremor. That cognition of the tremor demands attention. To what is that attention? The attention is that it exists. It's an existential tremor. It's an existential requirement which demands attention. So that awareness, what it does is that it forces itself to ask the question, "Who am I?" So, what is this particular spandana which is coming into me, into this particular state? Who am I that is evolving into this? So when that happens, this who am I is that tremor forces the that particular agitation or the tremor to seek answers. It cannot seek answers. So that primordial uh, existence of identity is Adi Purusha. That is the experiencer of identity. In order to demand to get that answer, it has to manifest. It has to go and do something. If it does not do anything, it will continue to remain in that state and just keep suffering. This happened, I'm this. Something is happening to me, I don't know what it is. So it manifests. But in order to manifest, it needs to sacrifice, it needs to put in an effort, it needs to put in an effort to manifest. That effort cannot come by itself. There has to be some sacrifice of Otherwise, there is no outcome. That sacrifice which that entity has to do in order to manifest is a yajna or a sacrifice. And in chapter 6, we will see that Sri Krishna says he is Adi Yajna. It is that sacrifice which that makes in order to come out and to manifest itself. Which is why Sri Krishna constantly says in chapter 6 that I control Prakriti. Because from that sacrifice, there is an emergence of identity. The first experience of that entity is awe. I have manifested, something has happened to me. And the second thing is fear. Do I really exist? So there is an existential anxiety as well as amazement and happiness that something has evolved. Now, you will see that this is there throughout our life, throughout, whenever we do something, we will be sitting quietly, suddenly a thought will come. But in order that the thought get life, we need to sacrifice ourselves. We need to put in effort in order to give life to that thought. Suppose I have to take a class. I might be sitting now. I have no idea what is going to come out of my mouth. I have a broad outline that I'm going to be talking about this subject, but I don't know. It is coming out. But in order to do that, I have to sit here and put in that sacrifice. I have to put in that effort to learn as much as I can. Now, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm saying I'm making a sacrifice, and then I'm putting it out. Similarly, any entity has to make that sacrifice. Again, when that sacrifice is made, it's out there in the open. But if that sacrifice does not get the attention it deserves, what happens to it? It becomes insecure, unsure of itself. This fear can only be mitigated when that particular entity is confirmed as existing by another entity. Again, coming back to this example, I'm giving you a class. I'm taking a lecture on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. If you do not confirm to me that you understand, you agree or you disagree, it doesn't matter whether you agree or disagree. But the feedback is critical for my sense of self, my sense of saying that what I gave to you is of value to you. When you give that value to me, when that value comes back to me as you are valuable, what happens to my sense of self worth or asmita? It will expand. If you all keep quiet and do nothing, then what happens? My sense of self worth will be all the time dithering. Are did they learn? Did they understand? Did they agree? Do they agree? I'm constantly anxious. This happens to all of us. It doesn't matter at what level. Even at Modi's level, it happens. The issue here is when that moves out. What is moving out? From within that, after the anxiety has been overcome, when the sacrifice actually happens, what is being manifested? The consciousness has to, the Purusha has to manifest as Prakriti. What is manifesting in the Prakriti? One is, of course, the solid or the physical aspect of Purusha, but along with that, the experience of the Purusha is also going. That is the consciousness of the Purusha. That's called Chitta. So the Chitta is a parcel, or is a the awareness of the Purusha into the medium. And when that goes and hits another Purusha, there is biofeedback, and that feedback comes back to the Purusha as feedback of that Purusha's own identity. So consider it this way. I am giving a class. This there is a physical form as well as what I'm saying, as well as the way I'm saying it. So there is verbal, non-verbal, physical communication happening. This goes through the medium of the computer to you. When you give feedback, what happens? That feedback comes to me in two, three levels. First is, of course, the confirmation that I exist, which makes me very happy. Oh, I exist. Number two, the confirmation that you have paid attention. That is equally is more important because I have manifested as a somebody who's telling something, the subject matter. Now you are then confirming the subject matter. When you confirm the subject matter, it means that what I am saying has value. The third thing that happens thereafter is that when you come, so what happens? I am manifesting using my chitta. My chitta becomes part and parcel of Prakriti. This manifestation is Prakriti. The message is going out in packets. What in IT they call packets, small data pieces. It's coming to you, and that is the carrier of that data piece is chitta. It comes to you, it goes in through your senses, the various senses, it gets collated at the manas or the cognitive center, which is, let us say, the data center, your CPU, which is comprising of five senses plus memory plus buddhi, which is the intellect, what you have studied, your basis, and things like that, and that forms dharma, your dharma. Then that then gets faced off. First, it gets collated at the manas. Then it is compared with dharma. That is done by the buddhi, the intellect. So there is memory, there is intelligence, there is knowledge. All of that comes together, and there is comparison of data. That then goes to the sense of self-esteem, which is the asmita, and then you respond. The first thing that happens is when you respond to me, the response other than confirmation of existence, confirmation of subject, is your understanding of the subject. It comes to me as first decoding I will do is that it is a confirmation of my existence. So when you say what I have said and concur, it expands my asmita. When you disagree, depending on the level of disagreement and level of my own understanding of the subject and understanding of you and your counter, I will either like or dislike it. So we have two major things that happen. One is the information that comes to me, I might not be able to stomach it. So my asmita will go in. What does my asmita going in mean? The chitta is going into my manas, and it there is a conflict in the dharma with the dharma and what data has come into me, and my asmita is shrinking. It goes inside. So Prakriti moves into Purusha. That means I become more and more inward looking. When I become inward looking, what will happen? I become insecure. When I become insecure, the first thing that happens is I stop moving. I become more inertia. I become get into a state of inertia. Why? Because I don't know what to do. Because anxiety generally means you don't know how to respond. You're taking in the data that there is a shrinkage of the asmita and you move inward. Your prakriti moves into purusha and you experience anxiety, inertia, delusion, everything. That is called tamas. When I am sending you information, I am we're putting in energy, that is rajas. When there is a sense of harmony or balance between the two of us, that is sattva. Let me give you an example of a ball. A ball is kept on the floor or on a flat surface. It is in a state of rest. That state of rest is a cognitive state of rest. This is the fundamental difference between our way of our sense of dharma and the Western science. Science says it is a mass which is at rest and nothing more than that. What our system says is that is a cognitive state of rest. That means the ball is in a state of it's a cognitive state for that ball. It's a very important thing that we need to understand here, because if you understand this, then you will understand Newton's laws of motion. You will understand thermodynamics in a very different way. What is entropy? What is enthalpy? All of this changes completely in meaning if you understand the difference, the fundamental difference between science and what science says and what our system says. Anyway, suppose the ball is in a state of rest. You apply a force, the ball starts moving. So the ball is in a state of rest, that is tamas. You apply force, that is rajas. At one point, the ball goes from acceleration into deceleration. It's a very brief period where it goes from acceleration to deceleration. That point where it transitions from acceleration to deceleration is sattva. So it's very important that you understand this particular aspect of our system. Another example which I can give you is in our system, Shiva is the manifestation of Tamas. Rajas is Brahma and Sattva is Vishnu. Now let us try and understand why these deities have been given these particular assignments. Vishnu is the center of what we consider to be the universe. That is called Brahmanda. The center of the cognitive center of Brahmanda is Ishvara or Mahavishnu. In that is the harmony, the various forces which keep it together is the entire Brahman. And those forces are held in a particular manner. For example, in the solar system, we have the sun and we have the various planets moving around it. They are all held in a particular manner. So there is Rajas, there is Tamas, and there is Sattva. But the overall balance that happens is Sattva. Even on earth, when we are working with each other, for as long as we maintain the balance between various forces, there is Sattva. If you let go that balance, if you start building where there are lakes, what happens? The water table will go down and dharma will reassert itself as loss of water in a city like Bangalore or whatever, a drought condition. If you cut down trees, what will happen? The balance is lost again. Point I'm making is that everything requires a balance. If you feed a cow bone meal, what happens? The cow will get mad cow disease and it will die. The balance is sattva. Rajas is mindless action. This is very important. When you are acting, most of the time you will realize that you are not completely into it because it is action. Action has got a way of removing awareness from it. So that mindless action, that is called rajas. When you get caught up in something, you will forget everything else. You think you are completely involved. No, it is your awareness in that particular action is there. It exists for many people. They are able to be completely aware of what is going on. But there is also a certain uh, kind of sharpness of focus which drives you into just producing. And that is rajas. When you don't do anything and you're caught, it is Tamas, and that is Shiva. Now let's look at Brahma again. If you're going to just act, what are the things that you need for any action? You need a framework of stability and harmony. That framework is provided by Vishnu, which is why Brahma is in the center of the Nabhi. Nabhi is the place from where all operations exist. That is the center of the Samana Vayu, where there is movement of prana for digestion, for maintenance of the body, for circulatory system, everything. So from that point, Brahma comes. He sits on a lotus, which is basically one which is unattached. That means he doesn't apply his mind. He just produces. But if he has to produce sensibly, he needs a consort that is process related, that is knowledge. How to do how to do anything, that is Saraswati. Knowledge drives. When it drives action, you get value, which is why Brahma is not really worshipped. He is a doer. He is one that produces. But Saraswati, when she is with Brahma, you get an outcome which is value. And the whole thing has to sit in the framework of dharma, or what Sri Vishnu is, and that is the universe in balance, which is Sattva. Only on a sattvic plane, when you have something coming out, does it add value. Then what is the role of Shiva? Shiva is essentially the quanta, or the single most simple identity of the self. So it is Shiva that drives a lot of all this. The quanta identity of Vishnu comes from Shiva, the identity of the self, and Shiva by himself is irrelevant without Shakti. So, which is why Adi Shankara says, Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yati Bhavati Shakta Brahmavitam Nache Devam Devo Nakalu Kushalaha Spanditumati. How can even the Devas get Spandana if Shiva and Shakti are not together? So, this I have given you multiple points at which Guna works. The interaction of Purusha and Prakriti operates. Okay, so I will now go to the next. Uh, uh, a person with complete knowledge should not agitate dull people with incomplete knowledge. See, one of the problems that I'm sure many of you have faced even today is that people will not have expertise in a particular subject, but they will have an opinion on everything. Now, it's very easy for anybody to challenge anybody. The person who is actually doing it has enormous difficulty in justifying. It's very hard to justify something. It is very easy to cut somebody down and say this does not work. You don't know what you're doing, or to tell the person why it should not be done. It's very easy. So the thing is that what Sri Krishna says is, when you meet such people, Don't waste your time on trying to convince them. This is something that we do not adhere to. We continuously try to tell other people why they should do what they do, which does not make sense. Because most people are stuck in their own ways. And this is very hard to change. That you cannot change others.
Thank you. For more information, please do visit my website www.schoolofyoga.in.